Okay, so today we're going to be studying triads: root 3-5, 2-4-6, 3-5-7, 4-6 root, 5-7-2. Aeolian is well, the Aeolian chord, 7th chord. If you get that 7th, then that locks it into Aeolian. Okay, because if it was the 3rd, okay, you'd also have a 7th. It doesn't lock it into Aeolian because it's also a dominant 7th on the Dorian. It's also a dominant 7th, and so my bad there, but you got 6 root 3 on the Aeolian. Okay, so we're going to be looking at those triads. We're going to be adding its modal 7th. And you may ask, well, what about its modal 6th? We can do that. Now, I'm just showing you an easy way to remember how to add the 2nd and how to add the 6th. Is just realize that a triad is part of a pentatonic scale, and it's the only other part is the 2nd and the 6th. Okay, so if we have a pentatonic scale here that we want to play, let's say in the C box, we'll do it in the key of C down here. Okay, so we got a pentatonic scale: 3-5, 6 root 2-3, 5-6 root 2-3-5. Okay, so we're going to have 3-5-6 root 2. There's our 2, 2-3-5, and there's our 6th. Okay, now why do we not look to add the 3rd or the 5th if we're doing the 2nd minor? Because it just simply wouldn't be the 2nd minor if we started playing this, the 3rd, the 5th, or the 7th. Okay, but we're going to add the 7th to the chord as the go-to substitution note. That's all that's saying. So let's finish this up. We're mindful the starred notes are going to be the 7th and the 6th. Okay, your choice, but really we're going to favor the 7th. We're going to favor the triad notes over the 7th. It would be a lot of fun to work through all the half positions and discover new chord shapes. That are invaluable for playing strumming chords. What I'm talking about is this. That is an invaluable chord. Although I don't do it that often, it's a 7th chord. It happens to be in the 5 position, so it's perfectly set up. It has a substitution 7th for the outer half of that position, which is the C position there. You can see the bottom 2 notes of that substitution are the C position. Okay, there's your E-shaped C right there. Here's your E-shaped. Here's your E-shape. Move it down. Okay, and you get its 5th. All right, move the pattern down, and you get its 5th. So we can talk about that a little bit. So let's zoom out here. Let's go back to regular, the regular lecture here. We'll talk about for a second. I'm just going to look at 4/16, the same thing. Major, minor, open, half position chords and arpeggios, without getting into this mess over here, which I tried to add in all those notes we could play. Actually, in this particular, that was 4/16, where I actually have all these notes. I thought, okay, well, let's have all these notes. So I showed them, and all of a sudden, hey, you might as well just be looking at all the notes. We have to focus out. We have to mask out some of those notes, okay, so we can see what we're doing. So that's 4/16 was my original, the original first chart on half positions from the open position. Okay, now let's zoom up. We did a lecture on that. We played those notes, we muddled through them, and then in 4/17, I kind of focused in and said, okay, let's look at 2 E-box examples. These are examples. There are others. These are going to be similar to those others too. So here we only have added the 7. So 5, 7, this is a Mixolydian chord because it's the C. You see how the C is circled out? This is the C position, but there's sunken notes. So this in the black here is the sunken notes. Here's the fret nut. So you can only get, these are your open, this is the open fret. This is the invisible fret. Okay, over here in playland, music box land. It's not there. So we have to play a half a position. So if we're looking for root 3, 5, we're going to add a 7th there. So remember, the Mixolydian is 5, 7, 2, and then its 7th is the 4th of the root. Okay, so we've got here root 5, 7. We don't have the 2, but we have the 4 and we have the 2 up here. So this is an important note to play. And by the way, this should be, this is from an earlier chart. This is a little mistake. This should also be highlighted. Okay, but I put it as an open string down here, but really root really shouldn't be there. That's pretty much a mistake. Because notice it isn't even the 7th. It isn't even the 7th of the 4th. It's the suspended. So there, I'll fix that. Okay, so I fixed that. I'm on a different computer now, so I've got to get back to these charts and fix them. I'm keeping them up as good as I can. Changing computers also is, I have to use the OneDrive, drive to transfer things between computers now. But I also have disks to transfer them, but they're getting rid of disks too. That's interesting. They're getting rid of disks. So I could have some edits that don't transfer over to the next computer, but I don't think that was one of them. So here we got it. This is it. So here's our E-shaped 5 right there, 2, 5, 7. Okay, and so this is the kind of thing we were looking at in chart 417. Don't worry about this. This is just part of the D-box starting there. So that's the half position there. Okay, and then we have a half position 6 minor there from chart 417. Here's the fret nut. Okay, now in this instance, this I was talking about, it's just when we get a D minor shape 6 here. Okay, so this is the E box. Alright, so the 6th is going to be 1 pentatonic note or scale caged member up in the word caged. Okay, so E goes to D. That's why we have a D minor for the 6th. It's just a little rule of thumb, because we're going backwards on the modal circle. So here's our D minor shape right there. Here's our root, 5 root 3 second inversion, D minor. We have the D shape, but it's minor now. Okay, up there. And this is just demonstrating that the 3rd becomes an open string there on the E string. Okay, another thing we're going to need to know, and by the way, just looking at that in the E box here, just want to show you that. So here's our E. This is our modal scale advancing from E. E goes to G. G goes to A. Then we have just a half step, A minor, A major. Then A goes to C. And then C goes to D again. Then D goes to E again. Okay, so it's... Okay, but when we're going this way, it's the word caged. C, A, G, E, D. So E, we go to the next position, caged position. The next letter in the word caged, E goes to G, C-A-G-E-D, for the 6th. This is the 6th. So we got root, 2nd minor, 3rd minor, 4th major, right here, 4th major, 5. 5 is here. The reason why I have an arrow going up like that is because that's the next